What if I told you that one of the most surprising moments in European aerospace history didn't come from America, France, or Britain, but from Pakistan? What if I told you that a jet many dismissed as average made Europe stand up and applaud? This isn't just about technology. It's about breaking barriers. It's about rewriting the rules. It's about a nation the world underestimated until it soared across the sky and forced everyone to look up. In a world where power is expected to wear familiar uniforms, something unexpected happened. A fighter jet, born not from privilege, but from pressure, took off. And with it rose an entire story of grit, pride, and purpose. So don't blink, don't skip. What you're about to hear isn't just a speech. It's the sound of applause echoing across borders. It's the rise of a dream that refused to be grounded. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you'll understand why you're clapped and why the world is watching. The JF-17 Thunder, Pakistan's pride in the skies, began as a project met with skepticism by many in the global defense community. Initially viewed as a low-cost second-tier alternative to the West's technologically advanced fighter jets, the JF-17 was expected to remain on the sidelines, an aircraft for smaller air forces with limited budgets. But what many failed to see was the grit behind its creation and the relentless ambition driving its evolution. Developed jointly by Pakistan and China, the JF-17 emerged not out of luxury, but out of necessity. With sanctions, limitations, and restricted access to Western technology, Pakistan was left with little choice but to develop its own capabilities. What started as a modest program gradually turned into a strategic priority. Over time, the JF-17 went through significant upgrades, both in design and functionality. The Block II and the advanced Block III variants feature cutting-edge avionics, air-to-air and air-to-surface missile systems, and AESA radar, competing with some of the most modern fighters in its class. Unlike many high-cost Western jets that require enormous logistics and maintenance support, the JF-17 was engineered with simplicity, efficiency, and ruggedness in mind. This makes it especially suitable for countries seeking capable multi-role fighters without being tied into complex political or financial arrangements. What makes the JF-17's evolution surprising is how it continuously defied expectations. As analysts around the world studied it with a critical eye, expecting it to remain static, Pakistani engineers kept pushing boundaries. They didn't just replicate, they innovated. They localized components, improved cockpit displays, integrated electronic warfare capabilities, and focused on pilot-centric design. Every upgrade was a message. Pakistan was not just buying technology, it was learning, adapting, and creating. Furthermore, the aircraft's performance in drills and exercises, including simulated dogfights and precision strikes, began turning heads. Nations that once dismissed the JF-17 began considering it as a serious contender for export. Myanmar and Nigeria became early adopters, and more interest followed. This growing global curiosity wasn't accidental. It was the result of a fighter jet that, against all odds, kept evolving. Pakistan's message was clear. We may not have started the race from the front, but we're catching up. With vision, resilience, and engineering muscle. The JF-17 Thunder's journey reflects how something initially overlooked can, through focus and belief, become a symbol of technological defiance. When the JF-17 Thunder first appeared at European air shows, like the Paris Airshow and the Farnborough International Airshow, many in the audience didn't expect much. In a space traditionally dominated by giants like the F-35, Eurofighter Typhoon, and Dassault Rafale, Pakistan's homegrown fighter jets seemed like an underdog at best. But the moment it took to the skies, something shifted. Spectators who came out of curiosity stayed rooted in place, watching with a mixture of surprise and respect. What they witnessed was not just a jet flying, it was precision in motion, a masterclass in maneuverability, and a showcase of determination built into metal. The JF-17 didn't just perform a routine, it told a story of resilience, of a nation stepping into an arena that few thought it could even enter. Its live demonstrations highlighted the aircraft's agility, quick climb rate, tight turning radius, and clean control response. The jet executed advanced maneuvers with the kind of smoothness expected from far more expensive aircraft. Its displays weren't just about theatrics. They were technically sound and strategically choreographed to highlight exactly how capable the aircraft had become. For many defense analysts, military attachés, and aviation enthusiasts present, the JF-17 shattered long-standing assumptions. It wasn't a copycat. It wasn't an imitation. It was a fully combat-capable, multi-role fighter that had matured far beyond its humble beginnings. Perhaps more striking than the jet's flight performance was the sheer confidence with which it was presented. Pakistani pilots flew with pride, knowing that what they were showcasing wasn't just a machine, but a representation of national progress. The applause that followed wasn't just polite, it was genuine. It reflected a deep, often unspoken truth that performance speaks louder than perception. European audiences, known for their high standards in aviation, acknowledged what they saw in the sky with respect. The JF-17 had earned its space in that sky, not through lobbying or alliances, but through capability and execution. These demonstrations helped reframe global narratives around Pakistan's aviation industry. They invited a new perspective, not of a nation dependent on others, but of one carving its own path. Every loop, every dive, every climb echoed a louder message. Expectations had been defied, and recognition had been earned not with words, but with flight. The JF-17 Thunder is more than just a fighter jet. It is a symbol of Pakistan's determination to become self-reliant in the face of international pressure and technological restrictions. For decades, Pakistan's defense capability was heavily reliant on foreign suppliers, particularly from Western nations, but as geopolitical tensions evolved, sanctions and shifting alliances made it increasingly difficult for the country to maintain a dependable supply of critical defense equipment. Out of this challenge emerged the need to develop something local, something Pakistan could call its own. The JF-17 was co-developed with China, but over time it became a project deeply rooted in Pakistan's own technological and strategic ambition. Pakistan Aeronautical Complex, PACP, played a central role in assembling, modifying, and eventually manufacturing key components of the jet, transforming the project from mere collaboration into true co-ownership. This journey towards self-reliance was not only about hardware, it was also about knowledge, skill development, and cultivating a domestic defense ecosystem. Pakistani engineers, technicians, and designers who once depended on external sources for technical support began to take the lead in upgrading avionics, integrating new weapon systems, and enhancing operational capabilities. Each new iteration of the JF-17 reflected an increasing level of indigenous input, from software development to radar integration, showing that the country was not just assembling planes, but building expertise. This leap in capability didn't happen overnight. It was the product of years of investment, training, trial, and error. And yet, despite limited resources and ongoing regional tensions, Pakistan managed to create a jet that was not only functional, but export-worthy. The importance of this achievement lies not just in the aircraft itself, but in what it represents. For a country often seen through the narrow lens of security challenges and political instability, the JF-17 is a rare example of a strategic success built on local talent. It signaled to the world that Pakistan was capable of breaking out of the mold of dependency, rewriting its role in global defense dynamics. The Thunder became a flying testament to resilience, proving that with determination and smart partnerships, even resource-constrained nations can achieve sophisticated technological breakthroughs. By moving towards indigenous capability, Pakistan laid the groundwork for long-term sustainability in defense production, reduced vulnerability to external pressures, and inspired future generations to aim higher in fields of science, engineering, and national innovation. The JF-17 Thunder's success is not confined to military capabilities. It also carries broader strategic significance that extends into the realms of diplomacy, economics, and national pride. For Pakistan, a country often dealing with political challenges and economic pressures, the development and growing global recognition of the JF-17 has offered a powerful tool to reshape its international image. When a nation produces something of value that the world takes notice of, it creates leverage, not just on the battlefield, but also across negotiation tables and trade partnerships. The JF-17 has become one such asset. Its presence in international air shows and its acceptance by foreign militaries has helped Pakistan position itself as a country capable of high-end manufacturing, engineering, and innovation. This strategic narrative opens doors to international collaborations beyond defense, spanning into sectors like aviation technology, cybersecurity, and aerospace research. In terms of diplomacy, the JF-17 has become a conversation starter between Pakistan and various nations seeking affordable, reliable, and adaptable fighter aircraft. Countries like Nigeria and Myanmar have already inducted the jet into their air forces, and several others have shown interest. Every export agreement is not just a sale, it's an opportunity to build long-term strategic ties, increase regional influence, and create interdependencies that contribute to stability and mutual respect. Moreover, the production and potential export of the JF-17 offer economic benefits, especially in terms of employment, industrial growth, and foreign exchange earnings. And at a time when Pakistan is looking to stabilize and diversify its economy, the defense production sector, driven by platforms like the JF-17, represents a promising avenue of sustainable development. Beyond tangible metrics, the JF-17's journey plays a significant role in inspiring domestic confidence. For decades, Pakistan was portrayed as a consumer of global technology, rarely as a contributor. Now, with the JF-17 flying shoulder to shoulder with jets from some of the world's most advanced air forces, that perception is shifting. It offers a sense of pride not only to those directly involved in its creation, but also to ordinary citizens who see the aircraft as a reflection of national capability. The jet becomes a symbol of what Pakistan can achieve when its resources are directed with purpose, when its youth are trusted with innovation, and when long-term vision guides its actions. Through the JF-17, Pakistan isn't just defending its skies, it's asserting its place in a world that is learning to see it differently. One of the most powerful moments in the story of the JF-17 Thunder wasn't just when it flew, but when it landed and the applause echoed. That applause in European air shows wasn't simply about performance metrics or engineering. It was a human response to something deeper. Europe has long been home to some of the world's most prestigious aerospace programs, and its audience is not easily impressed. Yet when they stood and clapped for a Pakistani fighter jet, they were acknowledging more than just the aircraft. They were acknowledging the story behind it. That story is one of an underdog, of a country often boxed in by global narratives, under economic strain, facing diplomatic headwinds, choosing not to surrender. but to create. It is the story of engineers who worked with less but achieved more, of test pilots who risked everything to prove their nation could compete, and of institutions that refused to let constraints define their capabilities. What Europe saw in that jet was not just a machine, but the embodiment of willpower. It wasn't just about flight dynamics, it was about the symbolic ascent of a nation that had long been expected to stay grounded. The crowd's reaction, especially in places where aerospace excellence is tradition, revealed something beautiful. Respect isn't reserved for the powerful, it's earned by those who dare. That applause was for Pakistan's grit, its insistence on showing up on a global stage where it had once been invisible. It was a silent agreement that yes, something extraordinary had just happened. A country known more for its struggles had created something that soared above all the noise. The admiration from the European crowd didn't come from politics, it came from merit. When a performance stirs emotion and evokes reflection, especially in a competitive environment like a defense expo, it becomes clear that what people respect the most is authenticity. Pakistan didn't arrive at those air shows backed by $1 trillion budget or massive PR campaigns. It arrived with proof. Proof of vision, proof of progress, proof that the boundaries people imagine are not always real. In that moment, the applause was not just for the jet, but for the dream it represented and the determination it took to make it real. And perhaps, most importantly, it was a reminder to all watching that dignity and excellence can rise from the most unexpected places. The global defense and technology landscape has long been dominated by Western nations, where the narrative of superiority in innovation, aviation, and military power has remained largely unchallenged for decades. The emergence of Pakistan's JF-17 Thunder has begun to quietly rewrite that narrative. When European audiences and defense analysts witnessed the JF-17 in action, many realized that technological brilliance was no longer confined to traditional powerhouses. The jet's performance, reliability, and sophistication stood as undeniable evidence that advanced capability could emerge from places once considered peripheral in global defense dynamics. This shift represents a broader movement, a decentralization of innovation where new players are stepping forward, asserting that talent, creativity, and determination are not limited by geography or legacy. The applause for the JF-17 in Europe symbolized a recognition of this evolving reality. It was not just about a fighter jet, but about a change in the world's technological compass. The JF-17's rise showed that smaller nations, often underestimated, are now developing platforms that are effective, affordable, and export-ready. These new entries into the market are beginning to challenge not just perceptions, but also long-standing monopolies in the arms and aerospace industry. More importantly, this shift is forcing established powers to acknowledge a truth they've long overlooked: that innovation is no longer exclusive. It's accessible to any nation willing to invest in its people, its engineering, and its dreams. The JF-17 didn't arrive backed by legacy or wealth. It arrived powered by necessity and refined through persistence. This journey deeply resonates in a time when the world is reevaluating old hierarchies, embracing multipolarity and celebrating diversity in thought and creation. Europe's applause was a sign that recognition has begun to shift from where something is made to how well it performs and what it represents. It reflects a growing maturity in global audiences who now understand that innovation is not owned, it is earned, often in silence, often in struggle. This realization disrupts the traditional narratives of dominance It builds respect for nations previously viewed as followers and now seen as innovators in their own right. The JF-17 Thunder is not just a symbol of Pakistan's engineering achievement. It is part of a global rebalancing in which the excellence of a machine becomes a statement that greatness can rise from anywhere if given the chance and the will to take flight. So when that jet soared across the European sky, sleek, silent, and powerful, it carried with it more than missiles and metal. It carried a message. That greatness isn't owned, it's earned. That brilliance doesn't need permission, and that a nation's past doesn't define its future. The JF-17 Thunder wasn't just a demonstration of flight. It was a declaration of presence, a reminder that innovation is no longer the privilege of a few, but the pursuit of the many. Europe stood, watched, and clapped, not because they were surprised by what Pakistan had built, but because they were inspired by how far it had come. This is more than a story about a jet. It's a story about the rise of possibility, the respect earned by resilience, and the quiet revolution taking place in the skies of the world. To every dreamer watching this, whether you're in a classroom, a workshop, or just wondering if the world will ever notice your efforts, remember this: excellence doesn't need a spotlight to shine. Keep building, keep believing, and keep rising. Thank you for listening, and may your journey, like the thunder, always find its sky. Good luck and fly high.